The episode starts with Adrian and Kagami watching the news in their hotel rooms in London. Flop-ass BBC knockoff has nothing better to report than the mayor elections in Paris and the arrival of two flop child stars. Apparently they were interviewed the second they came, and I don't know if Gabby and Tomoe made them lie like that on TV with the rings like good Sentis or what, but I can't think of any other way they could have possibly made them say that. Anyways, it seems like Adrian and Kagami are hearing these things come out of their mouths like they didn't know. It's confusing, so I don't know how the hell they feel when they're given orders, but it's something to think about. Kagami rages, but Argos blows the window and makes a little heart. He's so corny, fuck him. What Hootie said at Blumity. Filligamy antes were ended. And she smiles and takes off with him. Adrian transforms with the space power-up and flies all the way to Paris. Did Felix and Kagami also fly with his power-up? Did they go with a train? Did he hop all the way to Paris with her holding on? Damn, I don't know. They go back and forth multiple times in this episode, so. Anyways, then it cuts to Marinette and we're right where we left off from Revolution after Adrian's plane took off for London. With Marinette going to the end of the year party they were organizing in Adoration. She says she has to go for her friends and tries not to cry in the elevator. Must be so cool to have a school dance legally at the fucking Eiffel Tower. Eat the rich. She thinks nobody is going to notice her flop ass, but they do because she's the main character. And because she's the main character, she's the only one with a different outfit. Damn, that's your party fit? Kinda mid, but the skulls look fire, so I'll give her that. Marinette goth era. Then Kagami and Felix arrive just in time. Damn, it only took them a few seconds. Okay, remember that time is a complex thing in this show. Time is an object. Time is your best friend. Time will break your neck. Time will be your pet. Argos asks her what if Marinette is not actually Ladybug, and Kagami says she couldn't believe it either at first. Then we get a flashback from Perfection from the boat scene with Alia and Marinette. Back when this aired, most people didn't think much of Kagami coming in because this is Miraculous Ladybug we're talking about, so of course most of us brushed it off. Except for the few bunch of people who wondered whether Kagami actually overheard Marinette saying she's Ladybug and that she's focused on her mission or whatever. Show, don't tell is a good way of storytelling, but in this case they didn't show or tell after Perfection that Kagami knew anything. Until now. Reminder that she was akumatized twice. First time this season right after she finds out Marinette is Ladybug. She either brushed it off as something out of context at first until much later when she thought about it again, possibly in emotion. Or I don't know. Because Monarch was sensing her emotions and he couldn't pick up on any panic like Luca in Migration. Is this plot armor for Kagami so she won't have the same fate as Luca? Not really. Kagami was communicating with Gabby, but unlike Luca she was never worrying or thinking about Ladybug's identity when the Akuma hit her. So Gabby didn't even know that she knew who Ladybug was, especially if she still wasn't 100% sure at that point. Which also means that Kagami in emotion either already knew Ladybug's identity and the reason Marinette got snapped out of existence even though Felix never snapped her, last person being Ladybug. So she made him drop the plan knowing the truth, or she still wasn't sure and had a realization right after. I really wish we got to see the Kagami realization plotline on screen rather than a sudden revelation 12 episodes later. Kagami convinces Felix Marinette is the only one who can help them and he goes along. They kiss, he transforms and he's yet again wearing Adrian's ugly ass clothes to lure Marinette into the school. Marinette bumps into everybody trying to convince them she's fine after they all point out she looks crazy and she sees Felix posing as Adrian. At one point she bumps into Zoe and in the original script of this episode she tells Marinette about her new girlfriend Eglantine. I wanted to talk about this a little because of a theory I read on the MLB subreddit a while ago. Unlike the divorce line in Collusion and the Alia apology and confrontation that were cut off in the final episodes, those made it to the storyboard. This however didn't even make it past the original script, which is weird because the line isn't even long. Why the hell would they cut this out? Homophobia? They already put so much gay shit this season and this is subtle as hell, so I don't see why they'd cut it out of blatant homophobia. The theory is that Eglantine is actually one of Lila's identities that we haven't met yet. So essentially they'd be setting up Zoe as the next kind of Nathali since she'd be in love with the villain in season 6. Honestly an interesting storyline and development for Zoe, and I'm so mad that they cut it out. Because unlike the other two cases I mentioned of lines being cut from the episode upon its release, this one didn't even make it to the storyboard/animation stage, which means it never happened. Like with the divorce and the apology, you can imagine that maybe those happened off camera. Maybe, but this is a missed opportunity to build up new character arcs for next season. Or maybe they're waiting to introduce Eglantine next season, if the theory is true. Because remember that Lila loves naming her identities after flowers. Which is interesting in itself, and I wonder if that's a coincidence. Imagine if she hates flowers like Nano does, since she wants to be Nano so bad, and dies in flowers like her. Cheap. Anyways, yes, come back to this video in a year or two, and if the Eglantine Lila theory is true, you owe me your life. Back to Marinette following Felix. Somehow nobody else is able to see him except her. Like, hey guys, wasn't that literally Adrian passing by just now? Is that his stunt double? He literally passed by all these people, yet nobody questioned him. He's not just any classmate. He's a famous ass model. Anyways, Gabby and Tomoe find out Adrian and Kagami are gone, and Gabby yells at Nathalie, who looks like a corpse, and I'm wondering how she went from this to this in the span of one episode. Power of makeup, I guess? Dying and still serving cunt. Oh Natalie, I want you so bad. She tells him the farther away Adrian is from him the better, and Gabby says he was wrong to trust her with his son and takes back the ring with his amok. Isn't it crazy just how fast the night changes? Then Gabby akumatized himself into queer tormentor to kill her. Damn, everybody and their mamas wants to kill Marinette this season. That's crazy. She needs to start filing restraining orders. His power is basically Sandboy but drag. Also, instead of having the nightmare in front of you, it's in your head, so it's like even more traumatizing. Back to Marinette running after Felix. Just when she disappears from the screen, we see Chat Noir pulling up to the Eiffel Tower where he knows the party's at. This bitch didn't see her running? Okay. He listens to the class talking about how sad Marinette is and that Gabby can't have that much control over his life. Right after this, Gabby pulls up with the drag name Night Tormentor and starts shooting motherfuckers with nightmares. He's so obsessed with these kids, like fucking Predator, get a job. Gabby leaves to find Marinette to kill her, and Nino suggests the resistance should step in. I'm so tired of this plot armor bullshit of 14-year-olds defeating this powerful ass supervillain again and again. Marinette is still running after Felix. But okay, enough about them. Can we talk about this cunty fine ass right here? Like, who is this good sir? I want to bump into his tits, sorry. Or what if it's a butch lesbian instead? OMG, drop all your headcanons about them in the comments. Marinette ends up in the art room of her school. She sees this drawing of her and Adrian and breaks down crying. Meanwhile, Felix and Kagami are watching from above like gods, and right now I wanted to talk about several complaints I've seen about polygamy in this episode. I saw a lot of people on Twitter especially shitting on Felix and Kagami, but more so Felix because he quote-unquote took advantage of Marinette and made her think she was going crazy hallucinating when he and Kagami could have just taken her to the side and talked to her. Let me respond to both of those takes separately. Felix tricked Marinette by using her sadness. Boo-hoo. Be so serious right now. Abuse survivors let her know they need help because their life is on the line, and this is what y'all are so focused on? Did you watch what happened after this? Like, we can never win, y'all will never miss a chance to villainize this kid, and it's so painfully forced. Like, this is what you care about after they dropped all these bombs? Not to invalidate Marinette's feelings, but there are so many bigger things happening right now. I don't know why y'all are trying to twist this into Felix being an irredeemable piece of shit once again. Try not to be biased for 1 second and look at the circumstances. Not me talking about being biased, OMG. Now, why did they tell her the truth like this instead of just talking to her directly? A. Marinette doesn't trust Felix and she wouldn't listen to him as himself, so this was the only way he could get her to listen. B. Marinette would be jumping through the crowd, including these two, to leave because that's what she wanted to do from the start, so no chance of talking to her at the party. C. No, the reason for this play in my opinion isn't budget restrictions. Like, a lot people were complaining about how weird this concept is when they could have used flashback sequences. I get what y'all mean, and I also want flashback episodes with these people's backstories, but right now flashbacks wouldn't make sense because Marinette needs to see the truth. They're revealing this to Marinette, not just us. So this was convenient enough so she'd stay to figure out what the hell was going on in front of her. Saying the reason was solely budget constraints is actually funny because they used so many new 3D models for this performance sequence. It'd probably be less expensive to make a cold 3D model and some others for younger Felix, Amelie and the King and Queen. They wouldn't even have to make complete ones, not even have to show their face. I wouldn't want to see Colt's ugly face anyways, but to each their own. Would the cost be that different? Sure, the play does sound goofy in theory, but it worked and got the point across. Would it be better if we as the viewers got chunks of this backstory sprinkled throughout the season? Yes. Also, if they let her out there at the party and didn't lure her in that building, she would have been hit by queer tormentor Gabby. So y'all should be grateful they hid her so Gabby didn't find her in the end. Because if he did, it would be over for her. Remember how she was already emotional as hell? Those nightmares would have been crazy. But we haven't even gotten to the play yet because it cuts to queer tormentor and Chat Noir fighting in Marinette's room. In the art room, Marinette has supposedly fallen asleep and she wakes up to this nightmare blunt rotation. This is a win for me because we finally got bangless Kagami. And bangless Felix. Did Kagami put extensions in before the play? Her hair is not long enough to be in a bun, so this is the only explanation. Did Felix put them in? Okay, hairstylist Fathom. Felix and Kagami start their play about Felix's grandparents who wanted a kid but got two twins, Amelie and Emily. One was obedient and quiet, the other was curious, happy traveler style. They gave her the rings thinking she would be what they wanted her to as she got older. Eventually they let her study in Paris and she left them permanently for broke-ass Gabby, and they were mad as hell, so they disowned her. So Emily lost her title and her wealth to clap some broke Parisian man cheeks. Okay. Also, is Felix calling Kagami his queen in emotion foreshadowing to this? Who knows? Ask Thomas Astruc on Twitter if you're not blocked. How many times has Felix called Kagami his queen? Oh, I want me one. So Emily stayed behind, was forced to marry American billionaire ugly cunt Colt Fathom. Watch my video about the Graham de Vanilly twins if you haven't. Emily wanted a kid and so did Colt and Amelie's parents. But they couldn't get pregnant. Felix teaching the kids about infertility. Serve. I'm surprised MLB is delving into topics this dark for their target audience, but I'm eating it up. So Emily went back for help to see if she could fix the curse, but she couldn't. So she used the Peacock Miraculous and soon was magically pregnant. I have to respond to a very common reaction I've seen to this scene from many people. I remember seeing this everywhere back when the storyboard was leaked. Oh, Adrian is not a senti monster because they didn't outright say it like they did with Felix and they said Emily was pregnant blah blah. I'll ask again. Are y'all stupid on purpose? There's no way we're actually having this discussion right now. Let it go, man. You still think Adrian is not a senti because they showed Emily pregnant? They also showed Emily pregnant. And we don't even know for sure if the twins were pregnant for real or if it was simply a representation for the play. Were they pregnant? I don't know. Ask Thomas Astruc on Twitter if you're not blocked. Not impossible. The Peacock Miraculous can create any living being, so a fucking gummy bear that grows into a child in their stomach is feasible. Don't ask me for further biological details. But they literally showed the peacock background for both the sisters. I don't know why y'all are so dense like. I get that some of you are too young to have heard of Show Don't Tell, so I'm introducing it to you now. They didn't have to say Adrian is a senti because they showed you. Hope that helps. And it's not even showing. Felix/Gabby tells Kagami/Colt it's a miracle when asked how did your dumbass wife have a child when she couldn't. Adrian is a senti, yes, end of discussion. That's what Emily did with the Peacock Miraculous. Goddammit, we didn't even need a confirmation. Y'all are just plain stupid. Anyways, Colt is mad and Emily feels bad for her sister because she still can't have a baby, so she asks Gabby if they can give them the Peacock Miraculous. Colt refused at first because he was scared of messing with magic, but agreed in the end. Little did Emily know that by helping her sister conceive she was helping Colt ruin another life. Fast forward, the sisters had babies, and this is where the play focuses more on Felix's side of the story. After he was born, his father got more and more sick and thought it was the price of using magic. Gabby did say there would be a price to pay when offering it, so tragic irony. Exhibit 2. Pretty sure he didn't even know what the price was back then. So Colt was scared of the baby at first since it was created by magic, but as he got more sick he started to hate it. And since he was suffering from this sickness, he thought, why not make my kid suffer with me? Yes, I'm taking you down with me. Great idea. Except I will die and rest in a few years, but you will live with this trauma forever. Fair trade. They showed a few of the abuse tactics used on Felix throughout his life, calling him a monster from a young age to make him think there's something wrong with him, giving him unfair orders, the implications of we can only imagine, and one that I'd like to look into more, the bunny scene. I literally saw the leaked storyboards a few months ago and I still felt physically ill watching this part. Here he says if anyone he became fond of displeased his father, an order was enough to trouble his feelings. He showed himself playing with a bunny plushie, Kagami/Cold saying no. Direct parallel to adoration. And the arm of the bunny is ripped. Multiple scenarios here. A. Felix was ordered to rip a bunny plushie because Cold toxic masculinity queen. B. Cold ripped the bunny plushie because toxic masculinity queen. C. Felix was ordered to kill a real pet bunny because Cold is a fucking freak and he knew the scars from killing his own pet and not knowing what got into him would last forever. D. Cold ripped Felix's real bunny. Yes, fucked up but possible since they used baby dolls to represent real babies. F. The bunny either of them ripped represents friends in Felix's life since he didn't have friends. Like Cold was isolating him because that's what abusers do, so he can have no one to lean on. G. The bunny represents Amelie who he abused too. I saw this theory on Twitter since Amelie wore a white bunny mask in Gabriel Agresti. They could have used any other animal plushie, like a teddy bear, but they particularly chose a white bunny and I think it could be symbolism for Amelie. Like a good old conservative Wild West yeehaw American, of course Colt would be a bigoted misogynistic freak and blame her for not being able to have kids. I just know he sees women as breeding machines and nothing more, and he didn't even love her, so of course he'd label her a useless woman for not being a good breeding machine. So I wouldn't put it past him to go as far as abusing both of them. Levels of fucked up in no particular order. I don't think I could list these possibilities from least to most messed up anyway. And the last thing they showed Colt going to Felix? Attempting to kill him by punching the hand with the ring on the wall while calling him a monster. I love my life and I love Colt Fathom. Fucking cunt. Get a job, leave him alone. Kagami is Colt. Oh, she gagged me. Performance of the Year award. If Felix had a nickel for every time he's been threatened for his life by a family, remember he'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. So this is when Felix realized his puppet-ass life depended on that ring and his father was using it as strings to control it. So he waited until he died and finally took the ring. Also symbolism of big Colt small Felix. But like he still wasn't free and neither were the Centis being created and abused currently, so he had a mission. Since Gabby originally had the peacock miraculous, he put the pieces together that Gabby is monarch. So Gabriel Agresti isn't the episode he found out. He knew all along and that's why he came there in the first place. Looking back at his debut episode for a bit, something I saw a lot on Twitter and Reddit is he tried to ruin Adrian's life and now he says he cares about him? Retcon. It's actually called character development. Badly executed since it wasn't entirely fleshed out on screen, but it's decent character development nonetheless. After everything that happened and since he'd been so repressed in his own home with his experiences and his trauma, he came to the Agresti mansion and saw that Adrian had it better than him, on the surface at least. And undoubtedly Adrian did and does have it better than he ever did. He blindly saw him as an enemy who wouldn't understand, just like he did everyone else, because he didn't know that at the end of the day they're on the same boat. That's why he tried to sabotage him. Throughout that whole episode he was jealous as hell and projecting the whole time. The shower scene? Yeah, that was projecting. He's never had friends. Even Adrian knows it. He realized that he went too far and apologized at the end, even if it might have sounded insincere to some viewers, because he still remained somewhat cold. That's because that's how his default personality is now after the shit he was subjected to his whole life. Acting cold and bitchy is a trauma response. Is it a healthy way of coping or acting in general? No. Does it justify what he did? No. We're not here to justify his wrongdoings. Remember that. But you have to keep in mind the circumstances and be a little understanding. Why didn't Adrian turn out like that even though he's been abused too? People respond to trauma differently. Hope that helps. Now, possible explanation, not justification. Again, not justification. Explanation of the SA attempt in Felix. As much as I wanna keep this video as tame as possible, y'all have to understand this and remember that Felix physically couldn't disobey his father. So based on how he views women and abused Amelie too, it's highly likely Felix saw his own father do that as a child to his mother, which is fucking sickening. If Amelie experienced this at the hands of Colt and young Felix witnessed it, which extends to the possibility of Felix experiencing it himself, plus taking into account the level of abuse Felix dealt with, the physical, mental, and psychological, the isolation, is a recipe for a developmentally challenged kid. Was he even aware of his SA attempt if he grew up in a home where that shit was normalized? You take a child who either experienced SA, witnessed it, or both, add isolation, psychological and physical abuse, and what have you got? A kid who doesn't even understand what SA is or the implications of it. He looked confused as hell after Ladybug pushed him back. Can you still hold him responsible? Yes, but you have to be unbiased for 1 second and realize how deep the trauma could go based on what we know. Colt Fathom is a groomer and shoots animals with his guns. I will die on this hill. It's not an excuse in the slightest. Still, this is fucking disgusting, and so is the way people are brushing off the fucked up implications of this. The possibility that he got sexually assaulted himself by his own father and not being physically able to do protest since he's held back by magical forces that are used to control him makes this 10 times more vomit-inducing. Yes, I went as far as theorizing the worst-case scenario, because sadly all that's left in me after this is wondering what the hell Colt did in detail and to what extent the abuse went. Hope my next breath is my last. Next, Felix looks back to his canon episode appearances and Strike Back, and this is when Marinette says this: "The day I lost the miraculous. Bitch. I'm sorry, but." He shows you Gabby's fucking face and this is your reaction? The day I lost the miraculous? Shouldn't you be saying, oh, Gabriel fucking Agresti is the one you traded with? Gabriel fucking Agresti is Monarch. I get that it was a big info dump and she might have been overwhelmed, but the way they literally showed Gabriel twice and she didn't bat an eye. Did she? In the finale she's so shocked when she sees Monarch dropping Nathalie on her bed and transforming as if Felix didn't tell her right here. What the fuck? Anyways, they end the play with a very confusing sequence that I can't explain, so if y'all can please do in the comments. They tell her they need help so they can love each other like Emily and Gabby before them, and basically her know they know she's Ladybug. They stop talking and Marinette wakes up, as if she was passed out the whole time. Did they knock her out? She gets up and looks for Felix and Kagami but finds this Ladybug statue? Or is it a senti? I have no idea where it came from, but it disappears in a second. Did Felix snap the senti projector and make a sentibug within seconds? My brain is fucking fried. I am tired. Did she dream that last part with the blinds and Ladybug staring at her? She sees the feather, looks out the window and says she'll help them. Later, Felix and Kagami are back in London and Kagami says nothing will stop Marinette now. So was revealing this to her Kagami's idea? Most likely. I think the play format was Felix's idea though, because he's a theater kid. I like how the episode goes back and forth in the second half, alternating between the play and the fight with Gabby. Like this and the fight are happening at the same time. The fight scene with Chat and Gabby is basically tragic irony with a bunch of "if I was your son, if I were your father" lines. And here we find out that Adrian isn't oblivious to Gabby's abuse and knows how fucked up he is. This is the only time we get to see him fight his father without being ordered with the ring, and it's sad to me that he's just a damsel in distress at this point. Nothing more. For some reason he hesitated to cataclysm the thing Gabby was holding after he told Gabby he feels bad for his son/himself. And Gabby replied with, "Don't worry, he's very happy." What the hell was this reaction? Just cataclysm the staff. This is after Revolution, so he shouldn't worry about it not being the object infected with the Akuma or whatever. What the hell happened here? Anyways, out of his stupidity, Chat gets hit. The Sandman just checked in. Now nightmares can begin. The nightmare is akumatized inverted color palette Chat Noir having killed everyone including Ladybug. Since when is this his biggest nightmare? I wish we saw more of this worry of his before this. Like, it kinda feels like it was put in here for shock value, like ooh scary Chat Blanc. I remember y'all being so scared for quote-unquote Chat Blanc coming back, but it's not even him and he has 2 seconds of screen time. Gabby says the nightmare can end if he gives him his miraculous and Chat Noir says take it. For some reason, Gabby doesn't take it and the class hits him with whatever they find. They distract him long enough for Chat Noir to snap out from the nightmare and he breaks the object with the Akuma. Defeated by a bunch of powerless kids once again. I'd kill myself. Then Adrian goes to Marinette's house as Chat Noir to reveal his identity, but right as he's on her balcony he gets a nightmare vision again because Ladybug didn't do her miracle cure, whatever it's called. So the nightmares continue. Meanwhile, Marinette right under in her room looks at the picture with the Akuma in the jar. Adrian leaves right before Marinette goes to the balcony to transform. If she waited 1 second longer she would have fucking seen him. You know what? Fuck the reveal, I don't even care anymore. Never show us a permanent reveal. Marinette finds the jar with the Akuma and purifies it and does a pound it with the air. What's the post-end card scene? I could give you 10 minutes to guess what Gabby and Tomoe do to their kids as punishment after sneaking out and you still wouldn't guess. They resort to solitary confinement/white room torture. We love child abuse. Of course they would want to deprive their kids of sense and identity. Especially identity, because they don't see them as humans, and that's what they've been trying to deprive them of this whole season anyway. They're not subtle about it anymore. They should be the ones in white room torture and not their kids, but anyways. Some of you might be mad that Felix and Kagami didn't help Marinette fight Gabby instead of running off afterwards. She was going to be the one confronting him in the end. It's been stated multiple times in the show that she has the most powerful miraculous. Like they said, she's the only one who can end flop-ass Gabby. Did y'all want Felix to steal the Ladybug Miraculous too and fight Gabby himself? Obviously not. You would have burned him at the stake. Could Argos have helped in the final battle? Sure, but the writers needed an exclusive VIP Maribug vs Gabby fight only. But Dan, Adrian couldn't be there to witness it, but Lila could? Sure, Adrian is just an afterthought now. By the way, I'm not making this up. I saw someone on Twitter saying Felix and Kagami don't deserve Marinette's help after they used her sadness about Adrian leaving to get what they wanted and making her think Adrian was back in Paris. Are y'all stupid on purpose? Is there anything up there other than hollow air? I'll say it again. He did not trick Marinette in order to hurt her more. He lured her to a place where he and Kagami could show her the horrors of having your mental, physical, psychological, and emotional well-being operated by a magical remote control. The shit they didn't have the guts to explain any other way, so they needed to cover it with metaphors, but in a way she'd understand, without sugarcoating anything. People who are unhappy with the fact that Kagami told Felix who Ladybug is, I hope you realize they literally entrusted her their lives by admitting they are sentibeings. Especially hard for Felix to entrust this to Ladybug, who was killing Centis. The reason he couldn't trust her to help him in the first place. I can see where y'all are coming from, but Felix and Ladybug had mutual distrust to each other. Ladybug knows he is Argos, and now she knows that he is a Centibing and where his amok is. This is a dangerous situation for him too, cause if she happened to be one of the people who didn't see him as human and attacked his ring, he would be dead. For them to help each other now, there must be mutual trust built gradually, and he starts by revealing his biggest secret that could cost his life. The secret he would have never told Ladybug had he not known she was someone Kagami and Adrian loved. He's not a threat to her now, since he's not after her miraculous or the wish anymore. As for the Gabriel Emily backstory, you can tell they tried really hard to put all these parallels between young Emily and Adrian and Marinette and Gabby, but Gabriel's hypocrisy is so funny. Like, for the longest time they tried to pass him off as sympathetic but failed miserably, and now with this it solidifies the fact that he's just not sympathetic. Either every layer that is revealed, you find more and more evil. How do you not respect your wife at all, to the point where you not only fuck her wishes but make sure your son has the same experience she had with you when she was younger? It baffles me so much. Like, are you not embarrassed? It's not even helping him get closer to getting the miraculous, it's just his own side plan of ruining his son's life for no fucking reason. Could this be his way of taking it out on his son, just like Colt was on Felix? The difference is he's subtly manipulating his son and not straight up blaming him for what happened to Emily. Should not even she blamed Adrian from what we know. But apparently he did? Or that's just how I interpret it. Why else would he want to make his son suffer as much as possible? The fact that young Emily hated princess life and tried to get out of the castle whenever she got the chance. Reminds me of another kid who hated being a model and wanted to get out of the house any chance he got. I'll give this episode like a 7 or 6.5. I think I'm too negative with my ratings sometimes, so a 7 for this. I'll give credit where it's due, the animation made it even better to watch. I still wanna know who the big titty dilf Marinette bumped into was. What if it was Lila disguised? What the fuck am I saying? Anyways, decent episode, too much crammed in it, but I fuck with it even if we don't get flashbacks for the backstory. Also, y'all need to change the intro song because there's something about her that quite a few people know and it's no longer a secret.
What are you doing? What exactly are you doing? What is it that you're doing? I've been wondering. And I've been wondering what you're doing. What are you doing?